Hi, this is Rob Westerlund, Dat Minecraft Dude. No, I'm kidding. That's actually Dat Minecraft Dude. This is Dat Spotify Dude. What we're taking a look at today is music that I've been working on for about 100 years. It is CCM. You see it right here. On Spotify, you're able to search for music and make your own collections of music. What I've done is I've gone through the history of contemporary Christian music, starting way down here at the bottom. I've got about 130, 115 playlists of all the different types of Christian music there is, from about 1969 up to 2010 or so. So to begin with, Larry Norman, he's one of the founding fathers of contemporary Christian music, and I Wish We'd All Been Ready is considered one of the first songs which is contemporary Christian music. After him, there's Don Francisco, and his big song was, I think it was Hero Rose or something like that. But he's got a big song. The Imperials go back even longer, like back to the 50s. But I start off with their song Sail On, which is back around maybe 78 or so. And anyway, I'm not going to go through all these, but going back kind of in reverse historical order, we have Dallas Home. Let's see. And Dion, he wasn't a Christian performer the whole time, but he was for a little bit. And then Andre Crouch, Anderson Blackwood, B.J. Thomas, and Petra. Let me see if we can find somebody here that you all might realize. Amy Grant. That goes way back. But if we found something that's... Oh, what I did is I reversed these. They usually come in the most recent album first. I spent a lot of time reversing the order. So the first album on here, which is My Father's Eyes, actually the first one is Amy Grant with like Old Man's Rubble, if you're familiar with her. That's a big song of hers. But My Father's Eyes was one that we heard sung in church like 50 times. It was so popular. So that's Father's Eyes for Amy Grant. As we're working our way up, Amy Grant, Sandy Patty, Russ Taff, who originally sang with the Imperials, and around 1984 or so, he started off as a solo artist with Walls of Glass. Dugar Monkey, second chapter of Acts. As you can see, there's a lot here, 113 of these. Michael W. Smith, and Carmen, Dino, who is famous as a pianist. David Meese, Glad, Farrell and Farrell. Some of these artists you wouldn't be familiar with unless you would listen to a lot of contemporary Christian music like 20 years ago. Okay, Farrell and Farrell was very big around 1988 or so, 89. There was a period between 86 and 90 where there were a lot of different music artists that came out that weren't just singing like hymns and things like that, but just like a lot of rock and roll, sound effects, things like that. They were, but they weren't all rock and roll. Like Crowns is a nice kind of softer song. That's Farrell and Farrell. As we go on here with White Heart, heard them in concert back in 1985 or so. Phil Keaggy, Twyla Paris, Daniel Amos, for those who know them, they love them. Let's pick out some more here. Steve Green, Kathy Tripoli. Some of these aren't in exact chronological order. They're pretty close. But some of them started a long time ago and then didn't become famous until later. And vice versa. People knew of them earlier, but they kept on performing and putting out albums, but people really didn't see them or hear them. Kim Boyce, I think she was a former Miss Florida. Brian Duncan, Krumbacher. There were some rock groups that came out around 89 or so. Mastodon, Idle Cure, and Bride. These guys are definitely harder rock. Headbanging music there. And Stryper is another one. They were very famous. They're a heavy metal band. I don't know if you call them heavy metal, but they were a big hair band. And this is actually one of their more famous songs, is a very soft song called Honestly, whereas most of their music is more like this, To Hell with the Devil. But they were a Christian group. And after that, Benny Hester, we're getting back into the early 90s here. John Gibson, Michael English, Phillips, Craig, and Dean, they're still around, still playing music. Let me see if I can find some more. Kenneth Hall, Bob Carlisle, you might not be familiar with, but Decent Talk is a famous one. If you go into their later, like Jesus Freak, that was a big hit back in like around 1995, 96. Jackie Velasquez, Sherry Keegi, many others. City on a Hill, then we're looking around closer to 98, 99. Newsboys, they're still around, they're still doing a lot of music. A lot of big hits out of them. The Screams was a great CD. Now here's an example of a CD where I was only able to get 3 of the songs, and the CD has like 11. Great, maybe 15 cuts. Great music, but for some reason Spotify only allows a certain amount on allowed to be on Spotify. It's hit or miss. Okay. Third Day, they're still pretty big. Tina's you don't hear as much about anymore. Let's see who else. Go Fish. They went to our church back in the Twin Cities. Lincoln Brewster. Sixpence None the Richer. Their big song, their lead singer did, I think Kiss Me was one of their big songs, which wasn't even like a Christian song. It was used for movies. 363, Mercy Me. Let's see, a story that was made for, I think, the television show, but also a good CD a lot of people don't know about. Zoe Girl. And to kind of wrap it up, Big Tent Revival. Now, if there's some groups that you're listening to now that you don't see on the list, it's probably because I have a different list that are for more like fresh CCM is what I call it, fresh contemporary Christian music. So Big Tent Revival really can also be included in the next one. There's some of these, like, they're from like 2005, 2010. David Crowder could also be probably on the fresh CCM list. That one is up here. That's this list. I'll go into that some other time, but that has Jordan Feliz, Kristen Conrad, Brandon Heath, Sidewalk Prophets, etc. So these are kind of more the traditional ones. And I encourage you, if you like contemporary Christian music, especially from like the 80s and 90s, this is a great list for you. It must have like 5,000 songs on it. So I encourage you to listen to it. So enjoy this video and the music that I'm sharing with you. Have a great day.